On November 3rd, an organization called the Arab Resource Organizing Center, or AROC, posted messages on their Instagram and Twitter accounts on or about 6:40 a.m. Pacific time. Their goal was to disrupt the embarkation of the MV Cape Orlando, a U.S. Ready Reserve merchant vessel, with the idea that the ship would eventually be carrying weapons to Israel. Note that Twitter converts to local time and I am on the East Coast in the U.S., so if you see the times don't match up, that's why. AROC is a Bay Area Palestinian community organizing group whose stated goal is, we organize to fight for racial and economic justice and the dignity and liberation of our Arab and Muslim communities. They also serve poor and working class Arabs and Muslims across the San Francisco area while organizing to overturn racism, forced migration, and militarism. You can reach them at the link below. Now, at 6:18 Pacific time, AROC posted a message and a flyer on their Instagram channel stating, "Happening now, U.S. military vessel destined to take military equipment to Israel and is currently at the Port of Oakland. Communities are currently protesting with a strong picket line to protest, and we call on everyone to come out to the port and say enough is enough, no more weapons to Israel for genocide." Then on Twitter at 6:29, they post the flyer along with the actual location. By 7:31 a.m., they post a picture of themselves outside of Berth 20 carrying a sign that says no U.S. military aid to Israel. The location should be about right here. As you can see, the entrance to the port, there might be a guard shack here, but there is no active barrier. So it seems like it might be fairly easy to get on that particular port. As you can see, initially turnout isn't that high, but as dawn breaks, you start to see more people. By 9:59, people have physically attached themselves to the boat. By 10:39 a.m., a post is made by Critical Resistance saying police are violently trying to break through a peaceful line of protesters. I'm not sure if the person who posted this knows that if you're trespassing, then it doesn't really matter. If you're protesting, you're still trespassing on private property. Now, according to Kron Channel 4 News, it doesn't seem like anyone was arrested from this particular incident in Oakland. And that's kind of interesting because ports are supposed to be secure, and this goes all the way back to the Federal Maritime Transportation Security Act of 2002. I think that's really scary is the Anti-Terrorism and Port Security Act 2005 and the Protecting America and the War on Terror Act. Right now, these are protesters. And all you need is one dude in that crowd who knows how to plant a limpet mine, and now you've got a real problem. And even if we leave the maritime laws out of this, I'm not sure the people who are at this protest who attach themselves to the ship really know the consequences of their actions. All you need is a federal prosecutor who wants to make a name for himself, and now you're looking at federal terrorism charges. Or even like U.S. Code Section 2199, stowaways on a vessel or aircraft. Those who stow away without consent can be imprisoned up to 5 years unless the stowaway acts with intent to commit serious bodily injury. There's all these weird maritime laws, and all you need is that one prosecutor to look at those people who chain themselves to a ladder and say, hey, we can charge them as stowaways under this law from 1926, and now you've got a serious problem. And let's forget about the laws that are being broken here. Let's think about physical danger for the protesters. One of those people falls off that ladder or goes into the water or gets trapped between the water and the ship at port. If that happens, that's on you, AROC. That's on you. And protesting is great. It's very American. You got a right to do it. But the best advice my dad ever gave me was, don't go stupid places, don't hang out with stupid people, don't do stupid stuff. So, you walk around with a sign, that's cool. When you start trespassing and boarding a government-owned vessel, you are likely to encounter the find out portion of the screw around graph. And it could have life-changing legal and physical consequences. Now, about this vessel, go watch What's Going On with Shipping's YouTube video, Pro-Palestinian Protesters Board the Ready Reserve Force MV Cape Orlando and Delay its Departure. There's a link to that in the description below. They did a better job than I can explaining what the Maritime Ready Reserve does and so on. But in a nutshell, this vessel, the MV Cape Orlando, is a U.S. Department of Transportation ready reserve vessel. They move equipment all the time. They're constantly military rotations going back and forth in all parts of the world. So it is not unusual for a ready reserve vessel to go from one port to another. Now, one interesting thing is that the MV Cape Orlando is a roll-on, roll-off ship. So the idea is that this thing is designed to carry weapons and equipment. They just drive that equipment on board. So the idea that it would be carrying weapons is kind of weird. It would depend on the weapon. The three major components that Israel needs right now would be anti-aircraft missiles to defend their airspace from Qassam rockets, artillery shells, and JDAMs, or Joint Direct Attack munitions, and glide kits from, I think they call them SPICE, which is an Israeli design that's actually manufactured here in the U.S. Now, Israel is good on vehicles. They have plenty of Merkava tanks, Namer APCs. So using this to ship weapons, like vehicles, to Israel would be kind of weird. It's just not something they need. Now, supposedly the ship was heading to Tacoma, Washington, where it would take on weapons and then head to Israel. And the ship made it to Tacoma, where it was met with more protesters. Now, I am not a maritime guy, and the Navy is so weird to me. I created this Department of the Boat People t-shirt. I call them the Department of the Boat People. It's just this weird organization to me. So I don't know much about maritime stuff. And by the way, you can get this t-shirt on Bunker Branding as a hoodie or sticker as well. But I do know how to Google. And while I'm sure you're going to correct me for any mistakes that I make, when it comes to travel time, I guess it's about 12,500 nautical miles from Tacoma to Eilat, Israel, where Israel does have a port. And apparently they bring on a lot of their vehicles from Japan at that port. So if you go at a speed of 15 knots, you'll get there from Tacoma in about 35 days. Well, that's assuming, I guess, everything goes well. Now, if you ship out of Baltimore, Maryland, where I'm from, and we have ready reserve ships there, I mean, I pass one by on 95, it will take about 15 days. So don't forget that for every day you're at sea, that's additional cost, additional fuel, additional maintenance, additional pay for the crew. So you kind of want to keep this journey as short and as efficient as possible. So I believe that anything going to Israel would most likely come off of the East Coast. And that kind of bothers me because it seems like nobody at AROC stopped to look at a map. I also assume that nobody at AROC knows a lot about weapons or equipment either, because if they did, they probably wouldn't have come to the conclusion that a roll-on, roll-off ship is headed to Israel with weapons. Now, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. You know, maybe this ship was on its way to Korea or Japan to move some equipment to the Philippines or something for an exercise. So maybe the ship would take on some ammunition in Korea because the U.S. has 155 howitzer ammo there. And then maybe at the conclusion of the exercise, maybe they sail to Israel and top them off on 155 rounds and then go to Europe, where they drop off the rest of the 155 rounds, and those rounds make their way to Ukraine. I was saying maybe a lot in that paragraph, and I do not like saying maybe. I'm really trying to connect the dots and speculate on how a West Coast ship might travel to Israel with weapons, and that like Japan, Korea, Philippines, a lot is really the only scenario I can think of. I personally would not feel comfortable telling my clients that this ship's ultimate destination is Israel. By the way, shout out to Velocity. If you need a private intelligence agency to do risk analysis or social media threat detection for you, you can choose Velocity, or you can be wrong. Now, apparently, Lara Kiswani, the executive director of the Arab Resource and Organizing Center, said, "We know that a ship is destined as a military ship to Israel because of the courage of the workers." And that's kind of a weird thing to say in this day and age, because of the courage of the workers. And then I saw this video come out of Seattle, specifically Tacoma, where the MV Cape Orlando eventually docked.
The workers of the world will never allow genocide to happen on their watch. And with working people around all over the place, we will see an end to this genocide. We will see an end to occupation and war. And with worker solidarity, we will see a free Palestine.
Okay, so that is definitely an opinion a person can have. So then I went back to the AROC homepage and I read the About section again, and I caught this. We see our struggles as a domestic manifestation of global militarism and racial capitalism, and as the root causes of political, social, and economic instability of our homelands. Okay, I'm kind of picking up what you're putting down. Now, don't get me wrong, Palestinian people have every right to decide their government and decide their future, but a lot of these organizations seem to equate a free Palestine with anti-colonialism and with that socialism or communism. So this ideology may be a sort of catch-all bucket of ideas that attract anyone who's tangentially interested in social change. So that might be why you see communists or Antifa or the LGBTQ community supporting an organization that is essentially Daesh and would like to see an Islamic State from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. So there's definitely some strange bedfellows here. Now, when it comes to the actual loading of weapons, it seems like AROC got a tip that weapons were being loaded onto the ship. And if you follow this Instagram comment thread, one person says, "Unfortunately, in journalism, we often have to rely on inside sources and people who need to remain anonymous. Clearly, a few workers came forward to the AROC after learning about the ship's destination. Even if they happen to be wrong, it would be better to take a risk than risk letting more weapons go freely to Israel." So that's where things get scary. This person is essentially advocating that even if they are wrong, we're going to do this anyway to show how capable we are. How would you like to get arrested and face federal charges for nothing? I mean, maybe if you're part of an organization that is willing to risk you getting arrested on federal charges on a maybe, you may want to consider that you're hanging out with the wrong friends. But it gets worse. I use Cyabra, a social media threat detection tool that Velocity frequently uses to inspect tweets and Instagram posts of AROC. 23% of the engagement with AROC Twitter and Instagram comes from inauthentic users. So basically these are bots or sophists, either automated accounts or people who are not automated but are following a script. So if you are associating with AROC and engaging with them online, there is a 23% chance that you are being manipulated by tangentially foreign elements who do not have your best interests at heart and who do not have America's best interests at heart. The people who are manipulating you do not care if you get arrested and face federal charges. So I would not consider it outside of the realm of possibility that an inauthentic actor may have given a tip about this ship carrying weapons just to cause chaos or just to see if an American organization could be manipulated. There is a non-zero chance of that. So when 1/4 of your followers are inauthentic and you don't even know that as an organization, it may be advisable for you to fully vet your sources before committing to action. I reached out to AROC, but I did not receive a reply. Sometimes silence speaks volumes, or maybe they're just busy. If anyone from AROC is watching this, I will be more than happy to give you an honest intelligence assessment before you commit protesting resources. But if I were to use ICD 203, the standard for the intelligence community, I would give it a roughly even chance that AROC is being manipulated by actors who do not have America's best interests at heart. I think protesting is beautiful. You have every right to do it peacefully, but you may want to make sure you are utilizing your resources effectively. And I do not want to see any Americans manipulated by foreign interests. So this is my job now. Look, if you got $5, donate to me on Substack. Head to ryanmcbeth.substack.com or buy one of these Department of the Boat People t-shirts from Bunker Branding. I also have a couple others like Live, Laugh, Launch for Patriot and this landmine marker shirt. Thank you guys so much for watching.
In a world where fashion meets firepower, where style becomes strategy, it's time to gear up for the ultimate mission with Bunker Branding. Introducing the Rock Out With Your Chalk Out t-shirt, a tribute to the fearless air cavalry. Feel the adrenaline rush as you don the pride of the skies. For those of you who dare from the air, precision and power unite when you think outside the bomb. And don't miss our Live, Laugh, Launch t-shirts for Patriot and HIMARS, because sometimes defending freedom means bringing the thunder. Finally, for the true defender of the seas, we present Department of the Boat People. Sail with honor and show your allegiance to the world's mightiest maritime force. With these shirts, hoodies, and stickers, along with the tow missile, landmines, and drone warfare. These aren't just shirts, they're statements. They're your way of saying I stand for strength, unity, and style. Get yours at Bunker Branding today.